Hello, everyone. This is the Highlander Wrestling Show. Thank y'all for all the messages and everything. I'm getting the chair set right, and I want to talk about a Hawaiian wrestler who was portrayed as Japanese, Professor Tanaka, and he was in the movies. A lot of movies, I don't remember him being in The Little House on the Prairie, but they said he was in the 1980s Little House on the Prairie. He was in Last Action Hero, The Three Ninjas, The Running Man, of course, An Eye for an Eye with Chuck Norris, Missing in Action, the first one with Chuck Norris. And anyway, he was born January the 6th of 1930, and he died August the 22nd of 2000. He was 70 years old. Um, he was a big man too. He was like, well, for the way he always looked, he was 5'11" and weighed 280 pounds, looked like a Jerome tank. The way he was built. He debuted in 1958. Uh, he was also in the United States Army. When he passed away, he had a full-fledged Army burial with the 20-shot salute and everything, which is always good. He's been in the ring with a lot of great names he was in the ring with Chief Jay Strongbow. He was tag team partners with Mr. Fuji. He's been in the ring with Andre the Giant, Haystack Calhoun. The list goes on and on. He was big in Madison Square Garden. Him and Mr. Fuji were tag team champions in the WWF at the time. He I know I think he's beaten. I know he's been in the ring with Dino Bravo. Um, I don't know. I can't really think of anybody else he could have been in the ring with. I think. Oh yeah, he was in the ring with Tony Atlas, The Rock's daddy, Rocky Johnson. Some of the movies that he was in, like I said, was An Eye for an Eye, Fantasy Island from 1981 to 1982, Little House on the Prairie of 1982, Angel of Heat. I don't think I've ever seen that movie. The Bodyguard. He was in the A Team as a bodyguard. Um, he was also in that Pee Wee Herman's big. Let me find it here. Yeah, Pee Wee's Big Adventure. He was in that as a bodyguard of a sort. Um, he was in the movie Bad Guys. Professor Tanaka, from what I remember most about him. Hang on one minute. Oh, there. Thing fell over. Oh, the thing I remember the most about him, as far as I'm calling him the professor, because he was so good at, manipulating opponents in the ring by, they're basically like twisted torture devices. He'll get them in the nerves and the shoulders and the elbows. I mean, he was a professor of pain, and they always doubted him as Japanese, but from what I've always seen and heard, he was Hawaiian. Uh, but yeah, they say he was also a character to be around. I think if he liked you, he liked you. He was a lot like Andre the Giant. Uh, I know some of the matches y'all probably seen out there of him was when he was in the ring with Chief Jay Strongbow, and when he was tag team with Mr. Fuji, and they were tag team champions. And I think Classy Freddie Blassie was their original manager, and then Captain Lou Albano was their second manager, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's right. It may be backwards, but it's in that somewhere in that facility. It was either Captain Lou was their first manager, then Freddie Blassie, or it could have, like I said, the first Freddie Blassie or Captain Louis Albano, which they would come out with a Komodo on and all that, which I always had a fascinating with Japanese wrestlers. It's so unique. Well, as a matter of fact, I think as talking about that, I think he was in the ring with Arturo Inoki in Japan, in Hawaii, and everywhere. Because Hawaiian wrestling used to have a lot of the Japanese wrestlers would come there to wrestle, and vice versa over there. So there was like a back then. You had your territories; they all worked together, and you might see this wrestler over here for a little bit, then all of a sudden you'll see him over in this territory and everything. But um, yeah, the Professor Tanaka, my favorite thing. I always remember the reason why I always thought he was a character. They said he liked to joke, he laughed and everything. Which his laugh, he killed me. That he was on the Three Ninjas when the boys whooped him, and he was laying there doing that little goofy laugh he did. Which I always would like to have met Professor Tanaka. Mr. Fuji, his tag team partner, I'd like to have met him. It. I don't think Japanese wrestling and Japanese culture is not a big taboo over here no more for some reason. It's mostly Chinese and stuff like that now, which if people sit there and really look at it. A lot of your stuff they're calling Chinese is actually Japanese and vice versa. But anyway, besides that point, but I love watching, Japanese movies and stuff like that. But anyway, going back to Professor Tanaka, he was a lot like Abdul the Butcher. He could manipulate the human body in the ring like you never seen before. He can just, he was like the great Kabuki warrior or the great Kabuki. Excuse me. I think that's where the great Kabuki got a lot of his moves in the ring that he would do, like he's manipulating the nerve endings and stuff like that, and everything. And matter of fact, there's a good picture of Professor Tanaka. You can tell he was a big man. He was built like a Jerome tank with legs, a lot like Jim the Anvil Neidhart. He would never he would never go back to the or he never would go back to traditional style American style wrestling. Basically, what I'm trying to say, he always went to Oriental style professional wrestling, which really and truly, I think Professor Tanaka, which I know he was a football player too, and I think he did do a lot of. I think from what I understood, I can't remember what brand or what style he did, but he did do a lot of martial arts, which is why he was in the movie Eye for an Eye, Missing in Action, which he was a. I say, he was an intimidating looking man. I mean, when you seen him, you wouldn't think, he was like he was a serious, no nonsense, you fist and get hurt is how he when you saw him, that's how he looked. You fist and get hurt. You better bring everything you got to the table because you're gonna have a time on your hands with him. But but yeah, he was real big in the Worldwide Wrestling Federation at the time when Vince McMahon Senior had it, and then the Vince McMahon we know of now that who's not in the over the company no more. Oh, but yeah, Professor Tanaka. I thought he passed away before 2000. It was 2000 when he passed away. He had, I think it was heart failure is what they said. What it said on there that he passed away from. But I would have loved to have met the man because he was, he just looked like he was just an original character, which anything from the 80s to the 90s, I can pretty much tell you I can remember seeing some of it. I might have been real small at the time, but I remember a lot of that. Professor Tanaka, uh, he also, let's see, how was like, in the movie Running Man, he was a ice hockey player, which I didn't really see him being an ice hockey player. I could see him as a bodyguard or a hitman, or the one that would come like he did on Eye for an Eye. He would come in and he would kill the person, leave a flower on him. He was an executioner, basically. I could see him playing them kind of parts in the movie, but that Running Man, that part, which I ain't gonna complain about, he did a good job at it, but it just wasn't what I would have expected him to play that part. Uh, I know, like of many of your Asian and Oriental or Polynesian wrestlers, he didn't wear his shoes inside the ring. He went barefooted, which I don't know if that's a tradition or if it's just something they've always done. I mean, I've seen a lot of Japanese wrestlers wear boots, but I've seen a lot of them too not wear wrestling boots. Like now, Asuka, she wears wrestling boots. Torio Inoki, he wore boots. But like Mr. Fuji, Professor Tanaka, uh, Superfly, Jimmy Snuka, all of them, they didn't wear shoes. I don't know if that was some kind of. I guess it was easier for them to really get in the ring, which I guess in a way it would be easy for them to, it'd be more comfortable because, first you ain't got to. You can actually feel everything around you. You can probably grip a whole lot better on the mat, and move around more freely. But that's something I just always found fascinating. Which the only wrestler that was not Polynesian and or Asian wrestler at the time that did not wear shoes besides Matt Riddler now was Kevin Von Erich. He did wear shoes, but yeah, of course, I always liked the way a lot of the Japanese wrestlers used to wear they like capri tight ring gear tights. They look like they had the sewing on knee pads and everything. I always liked that. Of course, I've always been fascinated with Japanese wrestling, Polynesian style wrestling because it was unique, but I really do like Japanese. Now, Okinawans have a very strong style of wrestling, which you really can't tell the difference between Okinawan wrestling and Japanese wrestling because it's pretty much, I think Okinawa is between Chinese and Japanese. But as far as their style goes, I see a lot of Japanese in it. But anyway, I hope everybody out there enjoys this video. Yeah, make sure you keep Ultimo Gallows in your high view. Go to your local wrestling when you see it coming. You see a lot of great wrestling. Make sure you have a sit with Pat, also with Ultimo Gallows. My good friend Patrick, he's gonna have videos out hopefully pretty soon, and who knows, I may wind up showing up on one of his videos. But anyway, uh, hope everybody out there takes care. And if you got any comments, leave them on the video, on the comments on there, and I'll get back with you.